everybody. So I got some new plants. I actually got most of these online. I guess I have been a little bit obsessed with houseplants lately, and I thought I would show you the ones that I have. So there's some that I'm super excited about. There's one that I'm not so excited about, and I'll show you that one last. But let's start with my favorites. So this one is oh geez, Rhapedraphora de cursiva. So some people will call this a Monstera de cursiva. And I saw this plant online. I love Monsteras, number one. And the leaves just got me. Look how glossy they are, and I love the veining on them. This is a pretty immature plant, but when they get bigger, the leaves will be deeply lobed. And this is also a really good climber. So these plants generally like well draining but moist soil. I usually keep my monsteras in medium to high filtered light. These are plants that if you found them growing in the wild, they'd probably be on the floor of the rainforest. So think about that when you're putting them somewhere. But this plant I have been looking at online and just kind of lusting over it. And now I have one. So I think it's really beautiful. I just put it into this pot today. I let it sit in the pot that it came in for a week or so. And I hope it will do well. It does have a new leaf coming in, but that was also there when I opened it. So that was one. We'll say that's number one. Now I also have this silver dollar begonia. This one, I forget where I bought. Maybe it was on Etsy or something, but I saw a picture of this online. The lighting in here isn't that great right now, but look at these leaves. Look at the silver. They're basically all silver. I guess that's why it's called a silver dollar begonia. But I have had this probably actually for 2 weeks now. I have been really into begonias lately. In general, begonias like bright filtered light, sometimes partial shade, medium watering, and a fair amount of humidity too. This one I had to cut some of the leaves off because I had it near a heating vent and my humidifier ran out of water. And so the leaves were a little bit crispy. But this is sort of in my collection with my other begonias. So the next one that I have is called it's a type of peace lily. And I cannot say, here we go. So Spathiphyllum jessica. So Spathiphyllum is what we call all peace lilies. I have another peace lily that I actually got at a thrift store. It was sort of a sad-looking plant, and that was one of the first plants I think I got when I moved into my house. So that was about 5 years ago, and it's doing really, really, really well now. It flowers all the time, and I really like the foliage. So this one I just got a couple of weeks ago. So this is a variegated peace lily, and in terms of care, I'm assuming that it's like my other peace lily. It likes bright indirect light. Peace lilies can definitely tolerate low light conditions, but they might not flower. So keep that in mind. I usually let these plants dry out, and they often will tell me when they need to be watered. Sometimes these plants are kind of known for drooping and looking really sad, and then when you water them, they perk back up. But I also, like I've said before, I usually water my plants twice a week, or sometimes once a week in the winter time. But that's usually what I do, just a little. I feel the soil. If it's wet, I don't water them, and that's kind of what I've been doing with this one. This one, I don't really know where I'm going to put it, so it's actually been in my kitchen, which tends to be a little warmer and drier, believe it or not. So this one I've been watering twice a week, and I have a feeling it might be a little bit root bound. So I have to find a cool pot for this one. But I think that this is really beautiful. There's another type that's called Spathiphyllum domino that's really beautiful. And then there's another one that has like almost splotches of variegation that I haven't been able to find, or the ones that I found online were over $100. So I haven't bought that yet. But I really like that one. Now, the other one that I bought, and this just came yesterday, so this is a Hoya. Oh, it wasn't the plant. So this is a little Hoya. This is a Australis Lisa. And I saw somebody on YouTube talking about this plant, and then I was looking at pictures, and I I was actually pretty lucky to find this little vine. I've heard a rumor that they're being grown in large quantities somewhere, I think in Canada or something. Um, but I actually didn't pay too much for this one. I was happy with the price that I did pay. But it's just this one little vine. But Australis Hoyas are a little bit different. Their leaves tend to be a little bit thinner. They tend to be more oval shaped versus the carnosas, which are, I think, the other Hoyas that I have. But the Lisa has these really beautiful pink leaves with a green edge. And, this, like other Hoyas, it will be a vining plant. So I'm hoping to kind of, trail this one up. It will probably take a while to get there. So other Hoyas, they like a relatively dry environment, but when you do water them, you want to water them thoroughly. They look great in hanging baskets or trained up a trellis. And this one I'm planning to put in probably moderate to high medium to high filtered light, depending on where I can find a spot for it. But I've actually learned that Hoyas don't like bright direct light. They can actually get too much light. So I think most of my Hoyas are in a good spot, and the one that I do have in a south-facing window with bright indirect light is also doing really well. But this one, we'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll give you an update on that. I was pretty excited to see this one. I just put it in this little terracotta pot, which terracotta can be good for Hoyas because they like to dry out. So now this other one I got, there's really nothing that fancy about it, but this is an Anthurium, we'll call it a purple Anthurium. So I have another type of this plant that has red flowers, and those are the ones that are really easy to find. You can find them at all the big box stores, and I've seen them at my grocery store too. But they do have other varieties that have these flowers that might be white or pink and white or pink or purple. And I actually bought two of these plants last year, one pink and one purple, and they ended up having spider mites. So I had to get rid of them. So this one I'm actually keeping kind of far away from my other plants because now I'm paranoid that it's going to have spider mites on it. But I mean, I've examined it really closely and it looks okay. And I bought it from a different seller, so we'll see. But Anthuriums, these flowers usually last about 6 weeks. They will flower if they're in the right conditions, meaning if they're getting enough light. These plants will do okay in a low light environment, but they probably won't send out any flowers. They're known to be sort of slow to moderate growers. Again, the growing definitely depends on how much light they're getting. If you have them in too much light, they can actually burn. So I have my other Anthurium probably about 6 feet away from a south-facing door, actually, that has that allows some light through. And it seems to be doing okay. Just sent out in a little flower. This one came to me flowering. I had another one that I thought was doing really well, but it actually rotted. And so that was a lesson. They do not like to sit in water. They can develop root rot really easily. So in my other Anthurium, I have it in a pretty well-draining pot with well-draining soil. Whereas the first one I had, I think it came in a pot without great drainage. And I just kept watering it. And one day I noticed a rotten smell, and it was that plant. So goodbye, plant. But this one I'll be more careful with. I'll probably let it stay in this container for a while. I just bought some little trays to go underneath it, so I'll take it out of this plastic bag. But I think that they're really beautiful. There's another variety that I would love to have of sort of like the basic Anthuriums. I forget what it's called, but it has these sort of these white, sort of cream-colored flowers, actually, that have splotches of pink on them. So that's right up my alley. There's also very fancy Anthuriums that are extremely expensive. And you can find things like Anthurium crystalllatum, I think, or another one is Ace of Spades. They have one that looks like it says Super Bum, but I think it's Superbum. And they can be really expensive. I follow this Facebook group, and they've been selling some Ace of Spades for $200 for a plant. So I haven't really been able to get myself to do that. They're really beautiful, but I have a feeling if I wait, I might be able to find it for cheaper. So, I do belong to some like specialty plant groups, but $200 is an awful lot of money for anything. let alone a plant, and also let alone a plant that you're having delivered in the middle of February in Massachusetts. So we'll see. But there are a lot of really cool anthuriums. Those are tropical plants. So sort of envision tropical-like conditions if you decide to take them as houseplants. And some of them, especially the cool-looking ones that I can't afford, the leaves can get to be huge. So especially I've seen the Ace of Spades, being massive, and that's probably one of the reasons why I like it. So now for my least favorite plant, I guess I can't say least favorite, but this is a silver dollar vine. And I bought it and it came today. And I don't know, I guess I just wasn't really that pleased with it. Number one, I didn't know that it was going to be shipped bare root. So I felt this sense of urgency to get it into a pot because the roots were kind of dry. So I actually don't know a whole lot about silver dollar vine, but I know that they are a type of succulent. From what I've read, people find that they need to water them a little bit more often than their other succulents in order to make the leaves sort of happy. But so this plant came to me sort of dry and shriveled. You can see this bare root. The roots were just dry as a bone. Some of the leaves here were not, they leave a little bit to be desired, again, sort of dried out. So I put it in soil. I gave it a good watering. I'll probably trim it a little, trim off the parts that I don't like. But again, I did feel sort of rushed with this plant because I was expecting that it would come potted and maybe in a little bit of a better condition. But so, the ones that I've seen online look really green and lush. They tend to grow upright, but also have this like sort of crazy vining. I've read that they like high filtered light. And like I said, you generally water them more than other succulents, but they are succulents, so they don't need a ton. But you don't want to let them dry out. So that one, we'll see. When you are buying plants online, you're always kind of taking a gamble. And, my expectations were not that high, but this plant didn't really meet them. So we'll see. I'll give it a shot. It might not make it, but it might, it might look a little sad for a while, but hopefully it will come back. But I'll give it a shot. So we'll see. So those are the ones I got this week. I need to find a place to put them. Wish me luck with that. I'm running out of room, so when I really should stop buying plants, but they're so rewarding. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you have these plants and you have any care tips for me, then I'd love to hear them. So take care. Bye.